everyone. This is Elizabeth and I am back. We are fast forwarding through our mini album. This is the second part of my 2 hours of footage sped up into little 10-minute chunks. I am using the Lou stencil and the Tiny Diamond stencil by Simon Hurley. These stencils appear throughout the book, so having similar or even the same item appear on multiple pages really helps tie things together and makes it coherent. Even though I used the same stencil, I used different colors. So the one page is orange and pink, the other page is like a yellowy and red color. And I'm trying to find some stamps that I think are gonna look good. I'm trying my succulent stamps because we did have a succulent on a page. Then I'm pulling out, these are 2 sets. One is Friendship Florals. The other is Spread Your Wings, both by Simon Hurley. They're kind of a little corner flower. And playing around, I was like, yeah, let's do a couple of pockets like we did with the hedgehogs on the first couple of pages. So we're going to ink these up, and then we're going to use them to stamp. And I'm using my VersaFine Claire because these 2 stamps, they have the fill-in pieces. Now my tip for fill-in pieces, okay, put the piece on the paper and pick it up, put it on the design how it's supposed to go. Then pick it up with your stamping block. That way there your hand is comfortable and your piece is already in the position it needs to go in. For some reason I was stamping a little crooked and so it was missing part of that. So here I go. I set that in the center. I pick it up with the block. Then I can stamp. And it's a natural movement for your wrist. And I added a little bit more ink just to the bottom of that stamp and was able to darken that up. This one here is the Friendship Florals, and all the bits and bobs have a fill-in stamp, so you can fill in all the leaves and all the flowers with that. The other one only has the center fill-in piece, but the leaves are so easy to color in. You'll see that in just a second. Here I put both leaves on because my Stampin' Block is just big enough for that. Then I can ink them both at the same time and stamp away. I could have even done it with the 2 little flowers. I wasn't thinking at the time. But here you go. You turn that to position, pick it up, and then ink it up, and look. And even though this is sped up, they line up really, really easy, you guys. Those filler stamps are so much fun. I have some watercolor brush pens, and I'm just adding color to the center, and then I'm using the water to pull it out. These pens are not 100% fabulous, and I'm not using watercolor paper. Okay, watercolor paper will let the color sit on top, whereas the paper I'm using soaks it right in, so we can't spread it around. Now when you go and do your corners, make sure that you don't glue all the way up, especially like this flower here. You'll see I'm going to stick a piece of paper in. I did not glue that top flower down, so it gives a little bit more holding area for the piece you put in. And I like to cover the area that doesn't need glued with my fingers because I've been known to glue where I'm not supposed to glue. Now my next set of pages has this red cleanup piece, which it needed to be dialed back a little bit like we did in our last video. We're just going to add some more color to it so it kind of blends with the next page. The pages next to each other do not have to match. They can be wacky-do, whatever, you know, they don't have to be matchity-matchity. So I've got red splatters with some green next to some green stripities. It still looks good. This, wait till you guys see, you know, we made that pocket on the front, and we're gonna do a little dog pocket. Look at this. So I've got my piece of paper. I'm making sure that I know I'm gonna have enough room for my pocket. So I position the stamp, and then I sketch out the pocket. It doesn't have to be anything fancy. I thought about adding some buttons. I'm still kind of on the fence on that, but I can add buttons later if I want to. Okay, so here we go. We're going to ink this up, and we're going to stamp her down. Woohoo, look at that. Aren't these little guys so cute? They are from the Simply Celebrate line by Lawn Fawn, and they're just darling. And I kind of made a straighter pocket this time. It's got a little bit of an angle towards the bottom, but very slight. And I just used a nice black pen to draw my pocket. Here's the fold over on the pocket. Okay, and I gave it a little extra detail, kind of gave it a second one. You want to make sure your pen is dried, so either dry it or let it set a minute before you erase. Now, I'm deciding what I want to do for a pattern on my pocket. I wanted something unique and fun, and I'm thinking on that as I'm coloring, because I was going to do the pattern first. And yeah, I've got my watercolor pens back out, and I'm just using them straight to color in my little fur babies there. Aren't they just the cutest little pups? And yeah, very simple coloring. I don't add water. That's the nice thing about watercolor pens. You don't gotta add water if you don't want to. You can just color like using them like regular markers. Unfortunately, the browns in the set that I have, less than desirable. They don't have a lot of variety. They look very similar. Now, if I had added some water, I could have totally toned them back, and it would have been a lot better. But you know, sometimes we just do what we do, right? But there's those pupperonis. Aren't they so cute? So here's my decision. We're gonna do something a little fun. I grabbed the fine liner point of these pens, and I grabbed the tiny diamond stencil by Simon Hurley, because remember, we've used this throughout the album, so it's gonna look great no matter where we put it. And I'm tracing all you guys, I'm tracing all the diamonds. And I'm not doing it perfectly. If you guys were to actually look at this, you'd see some of the lines are kind of wonky. You know, it is what it is. I don't try to be perfect. I don't have time for that. But we traced it all in. Then we grab another color and shift the stencil. Now, there's two ways to shift the stencil. You can shift it so you have the empty lines going diagonal or straight up and down. And yeah, so there's a lot of ways. And then you could shift it again and add another color, shift it again. I mean, you could shift for days on some of these stencils. And try it with stencils that you already have that are nice, neat patterns. Do a little shift on them, or grab another stencil and lay it on top of it to create a new pattern. Really put those stencils to work. But I did a green and I think it's yellow, I can't remember. But it turned out really cute, and it reminds me of pajamas. I don't know, it just reminds me of pajamas. I'm using the watercolor pen to get a dark line underneath the pups, and then I'm going to try and drag it out. Again, this is not watercolor paper. These pens do work pretty good on watercolor paper, not so much on non-watercolor paper, because this paper just soaks the color in and doesn't let you drag it around. So I decided to go from brush to pen to paper, and that helped pull some color. And there it is, our little pocket. But yeah, we need a little pull out thing like we did with our carrots. So I'm making a little dog bone. Oh my goodness. Wait till you see. So I just kind of sketched a little dog bone, then traced it. It's actually not a bad, it's like a weird shaped M on the ends, and then you kind of connect them and erase your pencil line so it looks good, and chop it up, and you're gonna have this cute little dog bone tag that you can hide a message behind, stick it in the pocket, and have a really cute additional piece to your album. So look at that. It makes it look like we did it so quick. And again, it's a pocket, the sides and the bottom. We don't want to go all the way to the top. So we're just going to plop that on there and then stick our little bone in there. And there we have it. Thanks for hanging out. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye, everyone.